So, first things first, Craig.
Yes.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm doing great. I love Amsterdam, so it's a really good day today.
It's very good to hear.
Yeah.
So, before we talk about the upcoming record, I'd like to jump back to the beginning a little bit.
Okay.
Do you remember when you figured out that music meant more to you than it may have done for other people?
I do remember that specific moment, yes. Music was always special to me, important to me. I mean, I grew up with it. Mm-hmm. I started playing an instrument in the 3rd grade. I played the violin. Mm. Then I had to move. My dad was a military dad, so we moved a lot. Moved, and then I decided I wanted to switch to the saxophone because I really loved 1950s rock music. Okay. And the solos in those songs were always sax solos. So I guess I wanted to be like a lead guitar player and play the solos. But at the time it was like, oh, I want to play the saxophone. So it was literally music all day, every day of my life. I mean, I'd get up extra early, go to school early because I was in the jazz band. Then I'd be in normal band during the day and then marching band after school. So I was like, any band activity, I was signed up for it. Okay. And then as far as wanting to do music as a career or write my own music or sing or anything like that was my first concert. It was my freshman year of high school. And I begged my parents to let me go because I had never been to a concert before. And luckily I had some friends of mine that were in the band. They were seniors, so they were older. So my parents trusted them a little more. But it was the very first Project Revolution tour, Linkin Park. Okay. Other bands on the show were Cypress Hill, Hoobastank, Edema, and Mudvayne. And I remember Linkin Park was playing a track called My December, which was one of my favorite tracks, and it was a B-side, so I felt like a super fan, you know, like, oh, I know this song, people might not know it. But I'm singing it at the top of my lungs, and Chester looks over at me and like kind of points at me, and I was like, ooh. I was like, man, I gotta do this. Like, this is what I have to do. So that was the moment, that was the specific moment that I was like, yeah, I gotta do it.
In hindsight then, if you think back of that concert, how did that set you up for the years that were to come?
Well, what set me up after that moment actually was just a local band that went national for a little bit. They're still releasing music. Okay. They're called Greeley Estates. They're from Phoenix, Arizona. And at the time I was still a kid, so my parents were making me go to church, which I hated. But Greeley Estates came through and played my church. And then they invited me to their next show. And you gotta remember, my first concert was like this arena, right? So I'm thinking concerts are that, and that only. So Greeley invites me to their show, and it's obviously like a venue, which I've now come to know, like where I am right now in Amsterdam. And I was like, wait a second, you don't have to be Linkin Park to play shows? Like, it was so confusing to me. And they're like, no, man, like, you just start a band and play a show. So Greeley Estates really inspired me to just, I was like, I wanted to do this after that concert. Now I know that maybe I can do this. Let's do it. And luckily there was this website in Arizona called azpunk.com, which pretty much, I don't know if anybody remembers like the Guitar Store or Guitar Center or any music store. Sometimes there would be a little papers up, musicians wanted. It was pretty much a website like that, and I found a band that was looking for a singer. I went and I screamed my little ass off to a song by The Used, and they said, yeah, so you could be in our band if you want. That band turned into Bless the Fall. Things started happening very, very quickly, which was a shock to me because I was always super self-conscious about stuff. And then one day, I had a kid. I didn't know if music was what I wanted to do anymore. I wasn't making any money. I was arguing with her mom. I was arguing with people we were living with, et cetera, et cetera. So I decided to take some time off, ultimately got the boot from Bless the Fall, and then kind of fell in to escape the fate. They pretty much their original manager called me and said, let's fly you out to Vegas. We have some shows coming up. We really need somebody to perform these shows. Next thing I know, I'm landing in Vegas, singing with these guys at their practice. I had done a tour with them, and I was, Bless the Fall was a little more of a screamo metalcore band. So they're like, all right, well, can you like sing more? I was like, of course I can. Let's play this song. And I started playing. They're like, oh, fuck yeah. And then it was the second show, Bamboozle in California, and it was the last song of the set. And I climbed up the rafter and jumped into the crowd. It's still on YouTube if you want to check it out. It totally looks like I died. Like, The crowd like just kind of carried me, but I was falling so high and so fast that I like kind of hit the ground, but it didn't hurt at all. It's kind of cool actually. But we did an interview after that show and they go, so Craig, is Craig the new singer of the band? And the band goes, yeah, if he wants to. And I was like, let's do this. And now, come April, it's been 10 years since I joined the group, so.
One thing about your past a little bit, because you mentioned the saxophone and the violin.
Yeah.
So
whole mini history lesson right there.
So but what I find interesting, like you say, you wanted to be almost like a guitar soloist on the saxophone.
Yeah.
So when did that transfer to you wanting to scream your ass off?
I don't know. I didn't even know if I could do it. I mean, Greeley Estates was kind of a band like that, and you know, after that Linkin Park concert, The Used became one of my favorite bands of all time, and that led me into getting into bands like Under Oath, and you know, bands that are still around and touring, and bands I played shows with now today. So that started happening, and I would just get home, lock myself in my room, and I'm like, I want to be a band like this, and I would just try to scream into the speaker. Like they used to sell. That's what I used to ask for Christmas every year. They used to sell stereos at like superstores, where it would be the main middle console with the volume and everything, and tapes. You could put the tapes in, the CD on top, and then like 2 speakers on the side. So I would like literally have my head right here at the speaker, trying to like scream back at whoever was screaming through my speakers. And I don't know, I guess it developed, and then I started a band. And
this might sound as a vague question maybe, but what did you get out of it, out of this music and out of kind of that expression?
Oh, it helped me with my everyday life. I mean, I didn't have the worst upbringing by any means. Ugh. Spit a little bit when I said worst. I didn't have the worst upbringing by any means, but it wasn't necessarily that good, you know? Like I said, military dad, moved around a lot, so it was
tough. Yeah.
Well, not only that, it's like if I was doing my chores, which there was a lot of them, which is fine, teaches you responsibility. But I mean, I would get asked simple questions. Are the dishes done? Yeah. Yeah, what? And I'd get in trouble for not saying, yes, sir. Right. And so it was like I was in military school growing up, and like I get the shit kicked out of me if I disrespected or didn't do anything right. So that was difficult. And then, you know, I've always been like a smaller guy, like short, skinny, all that stuff. So kids would pick on me in school. And so music just really helped me cope with that. You know, I got my feelings out. Like I was screaming at the speaker like I wanted to scream at all those people that were screaming at me. And, you know, it helped. Right. And then it helped so much that it helped me build self-confidence to where people just started flocking to me. You know, it was like, it felt like in school, no BS, that it was like I became like Ferris Bueller almost. Like when I finally got to high school, I was so nervous because of all the crap I went through growing up until that point, which is like, you're like 13, 14 when you go to high school in the States. But when I got there, it was like, you know, I'd walk around and, hey man, how you doing? It's the guy on the football team. It's like, oh, what's up, dude? And it's these guys over here. And then it's like, it's total cliche. Like my high school was total cliche high school movie. And then there'd be the people dressed in all black with the mascara and stuff, like, what's up, man? What's going on? So it was really cool. I just was friendly with everybody, and high school was a lot of fun times and helped lead me to my first concert and helped lead me here, so.
I don't know what your relationship is with your father now, but what does he think of the music and where you are now?
Oh, now he thinks it's cool. Okay. Like I was, you know, I was always trying to grow my hair out or pierce my ears or super into tattoos, and, you know, he definitely wanted, probably in his mind, he wanted a son that was like hitting the gym every day with him, 6'5", wanted to go to the military, like maybe he wanted more of a buddy, you know, than a child, but he had me super young, so I think he's understood, you know, your children are their own people, you know, they're their own person, they're gonna become who they are. So he had to talk with me later in life. He's like, you know what, man, you've always been like this, and you shut me the hell up for sure. And look at you now. You're playing shows with bands I grew up listening to. Right. You know, we played a festival a few years back where we were playing with Iron Maiden or Def Leppard, and he's like, oh my God, like my son's playing with those bands? It's like, yeah, Dad, like you can do do whatever you want.
I've done well for myself.
Yeah. Sorry I wasn't born exactly like you, but it's all good.
And then, like you say, now you're 10 years in this band. And then I suppose a lot of ups and downs, but can I assume that and going towards I Am Human, that this is maybe the best place the band has been in with you involved?
I mean, I would hope so. I think it's one of the best places I've been mentally ever.
Okay.
You know, it's been a pretty crazy, wild ride. You know what I mean? I first joined the band and I got a lot of hate. I mean, I still receive a lot of hate because I wasn't the guy that was in the band to begin with. You know, which never made sense to me. Nobody goes up to the singer of AC/DC and goes, "Hey, you're not the original guy." It's like, that dude's AC/DC, man. But no, I feel like I'm in a very positive mental state now. You know, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on in my personal life, and I used to deal with that with substance abuse, and which I still like to go out and have fun, but I mean, I really was hitting the bottle hard, and now it's just like positive thinking. You know, it's accepting the things that you can't control or you can't change, and not letting it affect you at all, which I think is very important.